guys, what's up? It's Lainey, and today I'm giving you guys a non-spoiler book review. Today's non-spoiler book review is going to be on A Promise of Fire by Amanda Bouchet. This is the first book in the Kingmaker Chronicles trilogy. It is a fantasy romance, and I rated it a 4.5 out of 5. I really enjoyed this. It was exactly what I wanted to read when I read it. It just had a lot of everything that I really like in fantasy romance, including like the hate to love relationship, the tension, the angst, and there's also Greek gods in this book. Totally pleasantly surprised with how they were incorporated into the story. Let's get into the review. So to briefly go over the plot, this story takes place in a fantasy world that is divided up into 3 countries, and the Greek gods are presiding over all of them. We follow Kat, who is one of the rare kingmakers, and a kingmaker is someone who only comes around every 200 years and has a lot of magical abilities that is very sought after of kings. So all 3 of these countries are ruled by a magical type of family. There are 2 types of people in this world. You either have magic or you do not. The ruling families of each 3 of the countries are always people who have magical abilities. Until one country, and that's the country we are primarily in most of the book, it's Cinta. The country of Cinta was recently overthrown by a human warlord who put his sister on the throne instead of himself, and he's kind of going around trying to find people who have magical abilities to kind of secure the throne in their name. When this warlord, whose name is Griffin, discovers Kat and realizes she is the kingmaker, he kidnaps Kat to take her back to the capital city so she can help his sister rule and secure the throne. Because kingmakers are so sought after and so rare, Kat has been disguising herself as a soothsayer in one of the circuses, and that is where Griffin and his buddies kind of find her before everything starts happening. It's primarily a journey story, which is my favorite types of stories to read, of characters going from one place to another and kind of everything that happens in between that chunk. To go into our characters, we have Kat, who is the kingmaker, of course. She's the one that is telling the story. It is in first person point of view, the entire book, so we only are in Kat's point of view. Since it is first person, we get a lot of her thoughts and her mannerisms kind of down, and I was kind of surprised to know that a lot of her mannerisms and a lot of her even expressions and sayings were very modern, and I wasn't exactly expecting that in a fantasy like Greek world, and I guess that kind of threw me. Not that I didn't like it, it was just I was kind of surprised. But Kat is super sassy, and I really liked that about her. One thing I didn't like about her personality towards the end was that she starts off being a really curvy girl, and obviously I like that when I read books about other curvy girls as well, and then towards the end of the book she loses a lot of weight and she gets really put off by food then, and I'm just like, girl, I want you to gain weight again because I liked you more when you were curvy instead of a stick-thin figure. That was just a personal preference of mine, but I mean, overall, I really did like her character, and I really like the journey of her character going and where it's going into the next book. She's a character that is very mysterious. She has a big mysterious past, and she only gives the reader a little bit at a time. I really liked the mystery of her past very much in the beginning because we also really don't know anything about her, but then we kind of learn more about her as she grows as a character, and I liked that natural progression. The other main character is going to be Griffin, who is the human warlord that captures her. I mean, it's very typical in these kind of books to have the alpha male be kind of the cutout alpha male in a romance, and what I really liked about his character, I think set him apart from other alpha males in other books, is that when he overtook the country, he put his sister on the throne instead of himself, and I think that reveals a lot about his personality, as well as it gives him more layers and more depth as a character. The fact that he was fine being second in command because he wanted his sister to be on the throne, I think that was the most standout thing about his character that I really enjoyed reading about. And then I also really wanted to talk about the side characters of this book, and the main side characters I felt like were Griffin's buddies that have been traveling with him. They're his soldiers, they are super loyal to him, and I really felt that. My favorite thing about like those kind of relationships is like the bromance, and I totally felt the bromance between the 3 side characters and Griffin. I want to know more about them. I was able to always tell them apart, which I think is hard and sometimes with side characters. Next, I wanted to talk about the relationship because, of course, if it's a fantasy romance, we gotta talk about the relationship. This book features the romance being hate to love. There's a lot of tension, a lot of angst. I think I love the chase more than I like the actual relationship. So I think that's why I liked the Fever series by Karen Marie Moning so much, is because that chase lasted like 4 books. I definitely liked how the relationship kind of gradually shifted, because I knew, because he, you know, he kidnapped her, there's a lot of red flags going on there, but the way it's developed, and also the fact that Kat didn't like fall in love with him right away, because then I would have been like, okay, what's going on here? But it didn't really happen, and she's pretty much resistant to him most of the majority of the book. I really liked the way that it was developed out of like the kidnap relationship into the romantic relationship, and one of those reasons is because they have a lot of situations where they have to fight together to defeat other forces that are working against their group as a whole while they're journeying. Also, the side characters really help with that, because she actually becomes really good friends with them as well. So that's, you know, good female-male friendships, platonic, don't, you know, love triangles or anything like that. I'm super critical when it comes to kind of this urban fantasy, adult romance books. I'm really critical about the relationship, and I really liked this relationship in this book. I cannot wait for the future books in this series. The last thing I want to talk about was the Greek gods, because I think I kind of knew going into this that there were Greek gods based on a couple of reviews from Goodreads. And at first it is disorienting because they're Greek gods, all the names, everything like that, but they're presiding over a fantasy world, and I kept expecting to be reading about Greece, so that was just a little bit, but I mean, I loved the Greek gods in this book. It reminded me a lot of the Iliad and the Odyssey, in the sense that gods favored certain people, and that's true in this book as well, because Poseidon favors Kat, and he helps her and he has visions with her, and they're like in very mysterious godlike ways, I feel like. And I just really liked how they were incorporated, all the myths were incorporated. Cerberus was in this book as well. I really liked how I felt like they weren't myths in this book, because they're not. They're actually like real gods that are really happening in this world. So there's a lot of layers to this book. There's, you know, the Greek gods, and you have the magical people, then you have the humans, and then you have these 3 countries, and they're all starting to battle each other, especially from the country that Kat is originally from. There's a lot going on with that I don't want to get into because that's more spoilery. I definitely think the Greek gods added a special something to the book. Do I recommend this book? I definitely recommend this book if your reading tastes are like mine and you are kind of looking for that fantasy romance series that you really want to get into. I definitely recommend this book. The second book is going to be out in January, so I'm already really excited about that. It's called A Breath of Fire, and I'm really pumped. I really like the covers for these books as well, so there's that. And that's it for me. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. Let me know down below if you plan to read this book. If you've read this book, let me know. I hope you guys all have a really great day, and I will see you guys later. Bye!